Hello, Rob here from the Flanagan Homestead and East Fork Christmas Tree Farms. Many of you that follow my channel, the questions I get asked the most are Christmas trees and how do you start a Christmas tree farm. And I have over, I think about 40 videos now on a list. I'll share that at the end of the video on where to see my list on how to grow Christmas trees. But this video is specifically about how to start a small acreage Christmas tree farm. Say you have 5 or 10 acres and you wanted to start a small Christmas tree farm. What are the steps that you need to do to be successful and make sure everything's done properly? So for the sake of this video, let's say we have 5 acres and we want to start a Christmas tree farm. How would I do it? So here we go. First of all, you need to lay out everything besides the tree first. You need to make sure that you're going to have enough parking and everything else to go with your Christmas tree farm. Okay, so number one, you have to, before you start planting Christmas trees and everything, you got to make sure that you have enough room for your customers to come out. If you're doing a U-cut Christmas tree farm, they need to be able to plant. So I can say from experience on my farm and some other farms, if you have a 5-acre tree farm, on a nice weekend day, the Thanksgiving weekend or the first weekend in December, you're going to sell over 100 trees after you get your business going, over 100 trees every weekend day at least. And if it's a nice weekend day on those 2 weeks, and especially like around here, if it's rainy on Saturday but they know it's going to be nice on Sunday, you're probably going to be pushing 200 trees a day. Where are those people going to park? So I would say, and you know, they don't just come like spread out evenly throughout the day. I've had days that we sell a lot of Christmas trees and we have times where there's hardly anyone here and then just a whole bunch of people show up at the same time. You know, after lunch on those nice days, it's going to get busy. So you need to have parking. I would say if you're going to have a 5-acre Christmas tree farm, absolute minimum, you need to have at least space for 20 people to park at once, probably more than that. And you need to have it near a place where you want to sell from, not on the far side, you know, an easy access for the trees. So in our situation here at East Fork Christmas Tree Farms, here's our shaker right here. This is a Christmas cabin that we call it, that we sell out of. We have free hot chocolate and everything here. So this is kind of our hub. And then you come out here and we are fortunate enough that at the end of the county road we have this roundabout. And so cars park all along the edge there, around here, and we get about 6 in the middle here. And then our road is just wide enough that we can park cars up here. And I'll tell you, we do not have enough parking. We do have way on the other end over there, you can see the red bar in the back. When we need to, we can park people back there. But you might be aware that Christmas tree farming is a long-term thing and things change on you. That house up there was not there, so now there's a driveway. When we have people parking all the way up the street, that we have to be careful about their driveway. For the first 15 years of our farm, there was not a house there, and now part of the family has built and taken away part of our Christmas tree farm. So if you're planning on parking, 20 spaces absolute minimum. You should have at least 30, maybe more, even for a 5-acre farm. And just know, over time, people may be building and things may change on the road. This is our big traffic area. Nice wide open gate. A couple vehicles can come through here. We shake here and you can see it is not a large structure, but we have a shed where we can put the different things in. We usually have some refreshments, free hot chocolate and candy canes in there. Also a place to warm up. There is a wood stove in there, and if need be, our cashier can go in there. Usually we like to have the cashier, which is myself, standing out in this gate area, greeting people and taking payments as they go out. Next on your farm, you're going to need to figure out types of trees, species of trees, and spacing and roads. So how you're going to lay out your field. Just so you know, on an acre of land, if you plant trees 6 feet by 6 feet apart, which I think is the largest spacing you might need, you can get about 1,200 trees per acre. 6 feet by 6 feet equals 1,200 trees approximately. 5 feet by 5 feet, which is getting minimal, but enough for a lot of trees, especially if you're going to be harvesting at 6, 7, 8 feet and not letting they go big. 5 feet by 5 feet, you can get about 1,700 trees per acre on there. So that's a significant difference, 1,200 trees to 1,700 trees, depending on what you need. But I will say that 5 by 5 gets pretty tight. We have some sections of our farm that's 5 by 5. Most of our farm, I like what we did, is we have 6-foot rows going away from our main row. And what that does is I can take my quad or equipment or customers when they're going down the main road where it's nice and wide and open, then they can go walk away from the main road, and it's 6 feet wide, and that gives enough room that you can walk down. I bought a quad that is purposely with narrower tracks, and I can drive my quad down and use equipment down those rows that are 6 feet wide. And then, so that gives us more spacing that way, but then you only do 5 feet wide the other way because people don't need to be going through there and you don't need to drive equipment. If you have a Christmas tree tractor or a quad that you pull equipment through, drive down the main road, and then when you turn, you got the 6-foot wide rows, and you can get equipment through there, and you can walk down through there, and then 5 the other way. So that's up to you. 5 by 5 is pretty tight, especially for U-cut trying to get through there. But if you don't want to waste too much space, 6 foot by 6 foot might be too much. But I like 6 foot one way, 5 the other direction. So here's the main road down the center of our farm. And this used to be all trees here, but like I said, a house got built there. The trees go up to the base of the hill there. You can't see the smaller ones. And then when you turn this way, we have 6-foot rows. So you can see, even though these trees aren't tiny anymore, there's still plenty of room to get down the rows of these grand firs as we go, because there's 6-foot spacing. And even as they get taller, there's going to be room to go through here, and you can drive equipment through here. You will be hitting branches, but you can get through. If you go the other way, which is 5 by 5 spacing, I have so many trees have been cut out, you can't really see it. The trees grow in tight together, and you don't have as much space. Again, here's another example. On a U-cut Christmas tree farm, I wouldn't want to go more than maybe 250 feet in any one direction without being able to drive at least a quad. So here's our main road that you could drive a big truck down, and then here's a side road that we could drive our side-by-side on, or our quads with a trailer pulling trees out. And so we're probably 250 feet to the county road there. We've got tall trees with no spaces here. We've got a road to access here. We go out here at the end of these other taller trees, but before the smaller ones that you can hardly see, there's another road to cut across to do to drive a side-by-side or quad. There is a space to drive all the way around the backside before that row of trees. You can cut across here, and there's a road along this side of the trees, and then it goes along the red barn, the brown barn there, and back around. So there's no place on this farm that you can't get a quad within a couple hundred feet of a tree. Okay, the next key point is you need to buy trees and you need to plant trees. And I would suggest on a 5-acre farm have at least 2 different varieties, maybe 3, but don't get too cute and try to have too many different varieties. And then when I say don't get too cute, there's trees that are selling in your area, sell those. Here in the Pacific Northwest, nobles are huge. Everybody buys nobles, so our farm is 70% noble. We're changing that slightly to get more and more Nordman in the noble section, but they're very similar in look. So nobles and Nordmans are about 70% here. I have probably 20% grand firs, which are another really popular tree here in the Pacific Northwest. Smell better than any other tree that I've ever been around. Just magnificent smelling. Don't last as long. And then Doug firs have been around for forever. On my farm, we don't get as many people looking for them, but we always get people looking for Doug firs, and they're historically popular in the Pacific Northwest. So we have a small section of Doug firs to keep those people happy. So, but get something that's proven that people like, And then as you get more educated on your Christmas tree farm, maybe try some different varieties. But one thing I really, really, really want to stress is know your seed source. Absolutely know your seed source. Look for Christmas tree stock. Around here we have tons of Doug firs that are grown for timber stock. They aren't the best trees for Christmas trees. Also, there's different seed zones on the nobles, which are really popular here. So the first year, about 20 years ago when we first started to plant, it was similar to this year. There's a lot of people planting Christmas trees. We were late into the game, and so we were calling all the nurseries, no, we're out, no, we're out. And then this one place up north said, oh yeah, we have some Christmas trees. We have some noble firs. They're beautiful for Christmas trees. Why don't you buy them? And we should have questioned why everything else is out and these are still there. Well, they didn't lie to us. They were beautiful noble for Christmas. They grew beautiful nobles. But nobles tend to be slower growing, and we need about 8 years to grow a noble anyway. I would say these trees on average took 12 years to grow. They were beautiful, but they were slow growers. And, you know, do you want to take 8 years to sell a tree, or do you want to take 12 years to sell a tree? So we planted our first acre with those Christmas trees, and then we planted the second acre with another variety. And we harvested all the second year planting before we harvested the first year planting. Now, granted, they didn't lie to me. They had a bluish tint and they had a nice shape and they were beautiful Christmas trees, but if you want to be profitable, you can't wait 12 years, okay? And so it's not just how fast they grow, but certain trees don't grow as well. Any variety that I can buy here for Christmas trees, I could buy some that are better stock and some that aren't. If you can get, you know, we always try to get for our nobles. The Pacific Northwest Christmas Tree Association has an elite orchard. Hard to get your hands on that. I have another grower that has created their own orchard to get seed off of, and so we're planting those and getting nice trees out of that. Know your seed source. Don't just run down to the nursery and say, oh, it's a Doug fir or whatever you grow in your area, and oh, this would be great. Check around, ask Christmas tree people, is that a seed zone? Is that a type of tree that you want? Otherwise, you put it in the ground and you're going to let it grow and grow and grow, and it may take forever and have a beautiful tree. Fortunately for us, we got a beautiful tree. Or it might grow for 5-6 years and you realize this tree isn't going to be any good, and you cull it out and you throw it on the fire. That's a terrible situation. Know your seed source. Another thing you need to do if you're going to grow Christmas trees, before you start, check your soil. Know if you can grow trees or the type of trees that you want. We have beautiful soil here that can grow just about anything, but you may want to check amendments that you might need to do beforehand. For instance, here in the Pacific Northwest, I would say almost every Christmas tree farmer has to add lime at some point in time and continue to add it. Now I am just top dressing the field with lime and letting it work its way down, but it takes a lot of time to do that. So if you take a soil sample beforehand and say you're going to plow up the field the first year before trees are planted, if you know that you need lime to lower the acidity or whatever and change the pH level, then you can incorporate that down into the soil a little bit further, which is beneficial. But if don't waste your time if you're going to have soil that's not going to allow you to grow Christmas trees. Okay, a couple other things you're going to have to do on a Christmas tree farm. Number one is you're going to have something for weed control. Okay, there's a number of different ways to do it. I would say that this is our biggest pain every year on our farm. We have done where you've killed everything except for the Christmas trees and it's bare earth. And I would say if you want to grow the best Christmas trees, that is the best way for your Christmas trees. If you have every other competitor off the ground and nothing else taking the nutrients, nothing else taking the moisture, bare earth is going to give you the best Christmas trees. Me personally, I don't want to use that much chemical. I try to reduce the chemical a little bit, but I am going to have to use some. And so what we have tried to do is spray so that we have rows around the Christmas trees, a couple feet on each side when they're younger, and where we kill everything, and then we have rows of grass. So we're using less chemical for one, and two, with a U-cut Christmas tree farm, our guests are walking down rows of grass instead of mud, because it's always raining here. Anyway, you're going to have to make a decision on that, and you're going to need equipment to spray herbicides. So that's one of the pieces of equipment that you're going to need. I'm going to start talking about equipment here in a second, but you're going to have to make a decision: bare earth or rows, or just planting trees in the middle of the grass, which can work too. But just know, on these hot summers like we had this last year, if there's grass right up to the trees, they're fighting for that water just as much as your trees. And until your trees keep their roots down deeper, the grass sometimes wins. Okay, bare minimum equipment. You always can buy more equipment. There's always more things to buy on a farm. I talked to I was doing an interview with a tulip farmer a while, and he talked about farmers don't make money, they just buy more equipment. Anyway, but on a 5-acre farm, obviously you'll need shovels or an auger or something to plant the trees. When it comes to pruning, there's 2 tools you're going to have. Just your normal hand pruners, and you're going to need a shearing knife. I personally prefer 18-inch handle, 18-inch blade. I can reach easily up to 10 feet with this in my hands. You can go quickly. When you're doing just a few hundred trees, you could do them all with this, but as soon as you get more than that, which any type of tree farm you're going to have a lot more, you need a blade that you can go a lot faster. There's other equipment that you can buy, but this is bare minimum. At the time of recording, these are about $70 if I remember right. Hand pruners, you can get those anywhere from $15 to $100. But those are 2 things that you'll absolutely have to have. Another thing that I already talked about, spraying herbicide. You need equipment of some sort. Bare minimum would be the backpacks, pump sprayer, and then that you see that holds 3 gallons. Also, you're going to need to spray for aphids, mites, different things that you need to kind of fog the tree. A lot of the bigger farmers have a tractor that goes and fogs that. I have a leaf blower, high-powered leaf blower that holds 3 gallons of liquid in the back, and then I have nozzles I can turn, and I can fog the trees and kill the aphids or the mites. And so I would recommend you'll need at least that. That same blower that I was talking about can also put in a dry pack and blow powder on the trees if you need it to. Obviously, you also need a chainsaw, cut down the trees. I recommend a quad and a trailer, at least to move things around and haul trees out. And okay, I know it's a long ways away if you're starting a farm, but how are you going to market your trees and how are you going to sell them? We first of all, make it so that people really want to come to your farm. Okay, we have a petting zoo out here, a free petting zoo. You don't have to do it for free, but we do it for free. We have free hot chocolate in our warming shed, and we have the best service around. And I'm not just saying that. I've had a great crew that will out here that will cut, you just point to it, will cut your tree down for you, haul it up front, shake it, put it on your car. You don't even have to touch it if you don't want to. Now that takes a lot of labor as well, but once someone's come out to our farm and had that kind of service, they come back year after year. But you have to get them out the first time to come back. But then they'll start putting it out on social media, and you'll get people. But early on, one of the things that we did, and you need to be affiliated with different groups or whatnot, but both my business partner and I coached a lot of sports teams, and we're also heavily involved in our churches. So what we did is we made some certificates, and what we basically said is just put the name and address of our farm and gave it to them and said, print as many as you want, hand it to as many people as you want. And the certificate would say something along, take this to East Fork Christmas Tree Farms, and when you buy the tree, hand it to them. And the customers don't get the money off, but it might say $10 or $15 will come back to your group. So, or whatever amount you want to do. And so what that does is you got people handing out, people are talking, a large group of people are talking about your farm, and people are coming out, they want to support their youth group or their, their sports team. They come out, they're happy, they'll come back the next years, and then you go and hand a check to the basketball team or your church youth group, and people are really happy. And one of the, one of the reasons I like to do it that way is I don't have to sell the tree really cheap, so the customers are used to paying the price of what the market value is. When you sell them really cheap to get people in, and then you raise it up to market value, people are like, hey, I came here because it was cheap. But you know, the going rate for the noble firs out here this last year were between $90 and $100 for an 8-foot tree. So if I was to sell those really cheap and then raise the price up, people are like, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. But if I give the certificate, then they're still paying the $90, and then the church youth group is getting some of that back, or the sports team is getting some of that back, but the customer comes back the next year already knowing the approximate price of the tree and not going to be surprised when all of a sudden it's a lot more. All right, I'm going to have to shut this down. It's getting dark already here. It gets dark early on these winter days. But anyway, I have lots more videos on Christmas tree farming. If you look right here, there's a list. I have, I believe, about 40 at the time of this recording on different things that you can do on your Christmas tree farm. So you can watch those. Put comments or questions down below. I'd be happy to answer anything that I can. And as always, thanks for joining me on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching, including horticulture, is my job, and outdoor projects are my passion. Be blessed, everyone, and enjoy Christmas tree farming.